All right, hi everybody. If you're watching this as a recording, we're gonna hang out here for a little bit to give people a chance to log on. Hi Elaine, am I right side up for you? All right, if anyone wants to give me like a thumbs up to let me know I'm right side up and that you can hear me. I see a thumbs up there, so you guys can hear me. Good. I always like to make sure. It's so weird because I can never tell for sure. All right, tonight we're going to be using this sketch. I know Joe usually links it for you guys. So in a little bit here in the comments, I'm sure we'll get the link for the sketch if you guys haven't picked that up. I'm just going to give it one more minute and then we'll kind of get going. I've got May's kit. I had to remember what month we are, guys. Oof. I don't know if anyone else is just finishing up the school year. It always feels a little bit crazy towards the end of the year. My kids finished up today and we head out of town tomorrow, so it's been a bit of a whirlwind. So I've got pieces from May's kit. This is just about all I have left from May's kit. I've got a few other pieces, bits and bobbles and scraps left, but that's about it that I've got left from May's kit. I did use most of, if you guys have the embellishment upgrade, I have a few of the little shells left. I do have paper clips left, and sometimes when Scrapbooking Store is trying to get our stuff out to us, we don't get all of the upgraded embellishments for speed's sake. So I didn't get the palm trees that the rest of you guys got, but you can see we can work with those or around those. I always like the upgraded embellishments, but you can certainly do this without them. And if you look in the comments, there is the sketch file downloaded as well. All right, we'll get started then. I'm Samantha Taylor from Taylor Stamped, here for Scrapbooking Store tonight. These are the goodies I've got. I've got papers, some of the embellishments from the kit, the included sticker sheet. I do have some tiny glue dots, just in case I don't know if I'm going to be using these tiny seashells, but if I do, I've got those there. I'm going to move these out of the way. And I've got a little bit of dimensional adhesive. Again, don't know if I'm going to use it, but there's a 90% chance that I put dimensional adhesive on almost all of my layouts. It's a really nice way to add a little bit of pop. I've got 3 photos tonight. They are 3" by 4" photos. And a tape runner adhesive. Again, my adhesives, most of them you're going to see are from Glue Dots because I also do design work for Glue Dots. However, I don't use any products or show you guys any products that I wouldn't buy and use myself too. So I've got my Glue Dots glue runner, my sketch. I'm going to kind of put it up here in the corner so we can reference that as we go. I was going to show you guys too, if you happen to have horizontal photos instead of vertical ones, just flip the sketch. However, you can see I did this piece a little bit lower than center. If you flip the sketch, I would suggest centering that piece, and probably when you put your layout together, you're going to see that you want to center it anyways. It's going to look weird to you otherwise. Or you could probably move it all the way over to the side and kind of layer it here. So those are a couple of options for you if you're following along tonight and you're thinking that you have some horizontal instead of vertical, or a landscape instead of portrait type photos. Any questions on that? All right. I will try to give you guys the measurements I used as we go along with the sketch, but I purposely don't put them on my sketches when I create them most of the time, because most of them can be used and tweaked for what you've got. This one though, I did use 3x4" photos specifically because I am mixing them with the journaling cards that come with the paper. So there's 2 sheets in the kit that have backs that look quite a bit like this, and I am using some of those tonight and made the layout or the sketch specifically to work with this kind of thing. Now, if you've got tons of photos, I'm using 4 photos and 2 journaling cards. If you have tons of photos, you can swap that out for 5 photos in 1 card, or you could even do all 6 photos and add, I don't always journal in all my layouts if they don't need it, or you could add in some journaling like across the bottom of one of your sheets, not on a card. All right, now that I gave you all that, let's get started. If you guys are familiar with the layouts I do for Scrapbooking Store, you usually see me mixing and matching lots of pattern papers. I just really like to mix and match pattern papers, so I like to give you guys sort of an idea. I have most of my papers cut tonight already, but I'm going to show you my process for sort of picking out which ones I'm going to use, besides the fact that they're what I have left to some extent too after creating other layouts with the kit. So this base, the white isn't part of the sketch. I just trimmed around it for my own eyes. But this black is going to be our first layer of the sketch. And for that, I have this one 12x12 sheet of paper. If you want to conserve paper, or it's a piece you really like and you want to make sure you're able to use the back side of it or more pieces of it, you can trim out, use your paper trimmer to trim out the center. What I usually do with that then is I put my paper into my paper trimmer at the 1-inch mark. Kind of, if your paper trimmer has, you know, all your numbers going this way and then a couple this way, I trim it for 1 inch, or you can do, you know, put it at the 11-inch mark on this side. And then I start at the 1 inch here and go to the 11-inch here. Turn it, and you're going to do the same thing all the way around, and you'll get this nice 10x10-inch piece out of the center. And it gives you still a substantial enough back that when you add another layer to it, it's not going to be falling apart or super flimsy as well, or distort the edges, if that makes sense. And speaking of distorting edges, I noticed that I'm a little crooked. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit better. All right, so this is my base. And the way I started with this is I basically had these papers left when I came up with this sketch. And so I usually try to at least pick out one piece that pulls in a lot of the colors that I'm going to use in the layout, or the colors of other sheets of paper. It can be super busy if it goes with your photos. It can be a little more subdued. This collection has a lot less really patterned papers. You know, there aren't a lot of stripes and polka dots and things like that. It's a little bit more collage-y type style, and a few more sort of single color papers, or papers that are kind of same pattern all over. So my eye went to this one right away because it does pull in a little bit of the pink if I want to use it, got a lot of blue and a little bit of green. When I started, I thought maybe I'd use this sheet. This one has a bunch of squares on the back that I haven't used. If you're a card maker, you might want to save this one for that. It makes really good cards. But I hadn't used this one yet, and I thought, ooh, maybe blue. And as I started to layer it, I didn't really like the way these played off of each other. These colors are in there, but they seem to clash to me. So I decided, I don't really like that one. I'm actually going to set it aside. So then I started pulling out some of the other ones I had, and I had a chunk of this pink left. And I liked how the pink pulled into all of this. And I liked how the green popped here too, but I knew that if I put the green on top, say I flipped these around, because now I'm sort of looking for this outer square to frame my photos, it would be very, very green. Even if I cover most of it up, you're going to really have your eye drawn to that green, and I just thought it was a bit too much. Plus, my photos are a bit beachy. And so I thought on the green, I just didn't love them. So remember to pull in your photos too. And I really start to just lay my papers on top of each other in sort of the order that I think I'm going to use them. So the black here would be the green. The polka dot here is going to be my matte paper. This gray edge is going to be my pink. And then my photos are going to go on top of that. And this strip here, I am a lover of all things wood grain. And I really liked this wood grain. And I had a bigger sheet of it that I actually cut this strip off of. And so what I do a lot of times is just take the full sheets, right? I don't trim them down yet. I just start layering them to see how they look layered together like that. Yeah, Nancy, I agree with you. Both sides are really awesome on these. Yeah, so I just started layering and kind of seeing how they play off of each other with my photos and see if I like them. That is almost always how I put together a whole bunch of pattern papers to see if I like them. If I don't like them, like I said, I thought, oh, maybe this blue. And I started to put them together and I thought, oh, I don't like the blue with the pink. And so you just start to pull ones out, put other ones in, flip them over. Do I like the B side? That kind of thing. This was one that I pulled the B side on. And I thought, no, it's just too busy for this right now. So this is where I ended. I'm going to use the green as my base for this. And again, if you want to cut out that center, I'm almost out of paper, so I don't think I'm going to, and actually I'm almost out of beach photos, so I don't think I'm going to scrounge up another layout out of this. So I'm just going to use the whole sheet. And honestly too, there were some B-sides on these that I really liked and didn't end up using because I just they didn't work with how I was layering my papers for some of my other layouts or that kind of thing. Now remember too, when you guys do this layout, you're going to be doing it at home, not under a camera with everyone watching. So your edges will be nice and straight and layered well. Mine might be a little wonky, and I'm okay with that. All right. So this sheet of paper on top is 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. So I just trimmed a quarter inch off to give me a really thin green strip. If you want a larger border, go about a 1/2 inch. If you want a really big border, go about 3/4 inch to 1 inch. Will give you a wider if you want to show more of the paper, or if you just like the way the colors play off of each other. I didn't want to lose too much of these palm trees and flowers because I liked the way it helped tie everything together. Make sense? All right. All right. So my next layer looks a little bit like it might be this white one, but I tucked that white layer underneath the photos, but on top of the rectangle that's going to frame my photos. So that's going to be this one. Now I goofed up. This paper actually goes this way, the way the matte print goes. I cut it so it fits like this. You're going to make mistakes. Sometimes you'll notice them, sometimes you won't. It's not a big deal, guys. Mistakes happen. Some scrapbookers like to call them design elements. Because just a little bit of my paper is going to be showing, you're not going to see that I've got it flipped the wrong way. A lot of the words for this map paper are going to be covered up by my photos, so it's not going to matter. So I decided not to try and find a different piece that would work and swap it out. The back side of this one would make a really pretty base too for this. I had just used pieces of it already, so I didn't have a big enough sheet for the background. This one makes a really good one too. It's very similar. It's a little bit lighter and it's got boats and stuff on it instead. So that's an option too if you've already used the sheet I have that I'm using, or if you wanted something a little bit lighter. Then of course you'd need to swap out this pink piece for something else. Okay, so this one now that I'm doing is going to hold my photos, and I decided that I wanted just a slightly larger border on it than I had for my green. So instead of a 1/4 inch, or this actually ends up being an 1/8 inch border then because you take a 1/4 inch off, I wanted a 1/4 inch border around the whole thing, which would be a 1/2 inch. But instead I have to add it to get the right cut. Hope that makes sense. All right, so my photos, again, like I said, are 3 inches wide by 4 inches tall. This is a 4x6 photo that I printed 2 photos on. That's all I did. And so you get 2 photos out of your, I print at home, but you can do the same thing if you print online as well. You can put 2 photos into a 4x6, like collage it, and it will give you 2 3x4s instead. So since I know these are 3x4s, and I'm going to go 3 across and 2 up and down. These aren't actually my order right now. I'm just sort of showing you how I did my math for this. I'm going to go 3, 6, 9. So I cut 9.5 this way, and this is going to be 4 and 8. So I did 8.5 tall. So 9.5 by 8.5 gives me a 1/4 inch border, which is just a little bit wider than this one, which I liked as a design element. Okay, so that's how I got the size of that. And now, before I put my photos on, I'm going to put my strip of paper. I sort of just eyeballed how wide I thought it should be when I stuck it into my paper trimmer. And this ended up being 2 inches. Sorry guys, I just forgot. I couldn't remember if I did 2 inches. I wasn't sure if I did 2 or 2.5. So I'm gonna actually tack this one down first. If you don't have a lot of paper left and you want to conserve paper again too, you could also, I have this 2 by 11 3/4 because I want it to go and have my green edges peek out. But you could do it, it's probably 3 inches or even less, 2.5 inches or so, because it's going to get covered up by your photos. That makes sense? So if you wanted to conserve paper again or use up some scraps, if you go, ooh, I really like this paper, but I barely have any of it left, you could make it work. If you line it up nice and straight across here, no one's ever going to know that it's 2 pieces hidden underneath. I have done that before because sometimes I really like paper, but I only have little bits and pieces left. I'm going to go slightly off center with it because I just like it as a design. If you like all things square with the world and centered, then you can bump it up and stick it right down the middle of your photos. Okay, we're getting to the trickiest part of this layout. Mine might end up being a little bit crooked because, again, I'm going to do it a little bit faster so you guys don't have to sit and watch me. This is from the same day, and so we walked in the morning and we walked at night. Those are the morning, and these are my nighttime photos. All right, so I wanted my morning photos to mirror my nighttime photos. And actually, I wanted to do it like that. So I wanted to start with us together, pictures of him walking, us together. But in my mind too, they also go together because this is morning and night. Okay, so these are going to be flush with each other and we're going to go flush across, but I'm going to use my journaling cards in here. I decided ahead of time that I just liked the idea of the journaling card being on the bottom. And I'm sorry, I'm going to see if this is, yep, this is directionally this way. Okay, so they're going to line up like this. And I'm going to use one of the many journaling cards that came as part of this kit. Now I lost, I think I might have used them as a strip here. Oh, no. So there's a whole bunch that come with them. And as you can see, there are vertical and horizontal ones. So again, if you do a horizontal, if you're doing landscape orientation photos instead with this layout, you've got options as well. You could also, if you really wanted to, do square photos. So if you prefer square photos, you could make those work as well. You would just have to either, some of these could be trimmed down. This would probably make, it's probably a 2 by 2 you could trim it down to, and then layer it on another, you know, piece of paper to make it a 4 by 4 or whatever you want to do, or a 3 by 3 for a square photo set. Does that make sense? All right. I know some people prefer square photos. I rarely use them just because I'm lazy and they take more work. I call myself a lazy scrapbooker, a lazy paper crafter. I usually take the easy way. Okay, so here's the hard part we're getting to that I talked about. The hard part is going to be getting your first or your photos lined up and tacked down. In theory, all my edges should be about the same. So if I center top to bottom, I can kind of get an idea of how far visually my photos should be from the edge on the top and bottom side, but they should be the same distance on the left and on like the left and right edges as well. So that's all I'm doing. If it bothers you to not have it exactly perfect, what I would do then, yeah, I probably have to put tape on that one too to pin it down. What I would do is lay out all your photos and, or lay out all your photos and tags, get them all laid out, and then pull one at a time and tack it down. It's a little bit more work, but if it bothers you, it's worth the time and energy for you. It doesn't bother me if mine's not perfect, so I do it this way. The other option too, if you really need it perfect, is you could tack it down with a temporary adhesive, with a removable adhesive. So most companies that make adhesive also make a removable one. It usually comes in a different color dispenser. A lot of times it's green. I don't know why. You can always use a removable adhesive, tack everything down with that, then pull them up one at a time and put the permanent adhesive on it. All right, so I'm going to finish off my top then. Any questions while you're watching me tape things down, guys? I try to keep an eye on the comments. Once in a while they go past me before I see them. All right. So then my top strip is done, and you can see I got a little extra space on this side. Again, doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, make sure you get all your pictures laid out first, then tack them down instead of the way I'm going. The other thing I usually do is write my journaling before I stick it on the paper in case there's any bumps or anything like that. It's just easier for me to do it on flat, but I don't want to make you guys watch me journal. So you would journal here if you're going to, and then put it on. I scrap out of order too, so if you ever see my layouts, almost every single one of my layouts will have a date on it, because I print my photos at home as I scrap them too. And so then I delete them off my computer, I put them down, I write the date on my layout, so that way when it's time to put them in books, because I usually have a stack and then every 100 layouts or so I finally put them in books, I know where to put them based on the dates. So if you scrap out of order like I do, I highly recommend dating your layouts. Ask me how I learned that. So trial and error with that one. All right, so now you have basically the sketch that I gave you. What I didn't do with this sketch is add any titles or embellishments. I left it really plain, just because depending on what your photos look like and depending on how much stuff you like on your layouts, I didn't want you to think that, oh, I have to put a title here, I have to put some embellishments here. I am going to embellish this now. So I'm going to just kind of show you how I do that with what I've got. But I did leave the sketch a little bit more plain just because I wanted you guys to be able to use your imagination with it. And the basicness of that sketch, I guess, for lack of a better way to use it, gives you a lot of options for where to place embellishments. I am going to, like I said, primarily use my sticker sheet, what's left of it. And I also knew I was going to use at least one of these heart paper clips. I used the clip as an actual clip on one of my other layouts that we did this month. I did this month with this month's kit. But sometimes when I get bulkier embellishments like this, I like to see sometimes if I can take them apart if I don't need the back pieces. And you guys, you can take these apart. All I did was start wiggling a little bit on this, and it came loose. It wasn't so easy that you have to worry about using them on your layouts or cards. It's not going to fall apart on you, but if you give it a good strong wiggle, it'll come out. This is actually a little bit rubbery, and so it's got some give and you can pull on it out. It did leave the rubber behind, and the rubber stuck down with a good bit of adhesive, so I kind of pried it, and then I have a scissors that's used to cut like rubber on stamps and stuff, and that sliced it right off the back for me to give me a fairly flat back. So if you do like the idea of using these hearts but don't want to use all of them as a paper clip, you can pull them apart. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it as a paper clip or pulled apart, but I wanted the option tonight, so I tried. All right, and then like I said, I do have a few of these shells left from the embellishment upgrade. What I do know is that I definitely want something probably down in this corner. And then I will probably do like an opposite corner, so up here, or I'll do this corner and this corner. So I'm just gonna start looking at my embellishments and see if any of them lean a specific direction, because I don't necessarily have to go here and here or here and here. So for instance, if I wanted to use this one, it kind of feels like it leans this way if I want to put it in a corner. So I might go here and here. Does that sort of make sense? If you're not using embellishments with an orientation, then a lot of times I just start kind of laying them down to see where they work, where it's not covering up something I want. So in doing that, I saw that I kind of like it here. I also kind of like it a little bit off of the paper. So I am going to use my dimensional adhesive. When I use dimensional adhesive with stickers, there's two ways you can do it. Some companies make these little brush tools and they're pretty much just filled with cornstarch, and you can wipe it right on there and it makes the sticker less sticky. The other thing you can do is just take it and put it on your pants, and you'll see that it's got a little bit of fuzz on there now, and it makes it less sticky, because otherwise, if you leave it completely sticky, even with that dimensional adhesive on it, if something pushes on the top of it, sometimes bits of it will like touch down to your paper and it can look a little weird. So, and I'm down to my itty bitty squares here. So bear with me just a second. So I made my sticker a little less sticky, and now I'm going to stick it on the back. So you don't always need fancy tools. Sometimes you just need your pants with a little bit of fuzz on them. Though if you're like me and you have dogs in the house, make sure you don't trap dog hair on there and then it's sticking out of your stickers. I don't know if anyone else has dogs. Mine are shedding terribly right now with the spring, so yeah, go this way. I like it right about there. So I'm going to stick that there. And I do think that I'm going to use my heart. Yeah, I think I'm going to use my heart without the paperclip piece. If you don't want to pull it apart, and you want the same thing, you can probably bury it behind too. So a couple of different options for that. I'm going to grab a slightly larger glue dot here for the back of this. When you do pull it apart, you're going to have a little bump on it, or if you do, so I just used a little bit stickier, not a flat scrapbooking adhesive, but just a glue dot with a little bit of oomph to it. All right, and I'm definitely going to want something up in this upper corner over here. Probably some words. Let's see. Let's do, oh, you know what? I was going to grab this favorite, but I don't like the pink on pink. I forgot that I had that pink background, and I don't like that. So let's do, you know what? I like the Beach Happy, and that's pink too, but I don't know, for some reason I don't mind that one so much. So I'm going to go, I like word stickers. So whenever we have them, you will see me using them quite a bit on my layouts. So I'm going to go Surf's Up. And then I'm going to layer Beach Happy this way underneath it. And I am going to, oh, I sent my, there they are. I was going to say, did I send those flying? I'm going to use one of these on there. So these are shells from the embellishment upgrade. If you didn't get the embellishment upgrade, you could leave that out completely. Otherwise, there are some hearts on here that would go well. Oops, sorry. Hearts on here that would go well in that space. And I still might add a heart. Yeah, you know what? I am going to add a heart in that space as well. So I'm going to, I'm kind of layering the shell on the heart right now because I'm not exactly sure how, I want to make sure that enough of the heart can be seen. So it gives me an idea of how I kind of need to lay it on there. Oops, sorry. I'm crossing over so you can't quite see. All right. So I've got my heart, one of the little seashells, and then it says Surf's Up and Beach Happy. And that might be it. However, I'm just making sure, I kind of like, so this little Life's a Beach ticket, I did this a lot with these little ticket embellishments. I hid almost the entire thing. So you can see they're kind of a full ticket is, I guess, the best word I have for it. And I hid most of it underneath and just left a little strip of paper. It just fit better with my style or with how I layered things up. For a lot of them, just to have a little hint of that color showing instead of the whole big piece. And I'm going to see, I don't think I want that, but I think I might want to, I can never have enough hearts on stuff either, so I think I'm going to add a little heart in here. Now, I don't have a title for this layout. My one son and I last year took a trip to Hilton Head while my husband and other kiddo were snowmobiling. They went cold, we went warm. But I have scrapped a lot of photos from this trip, so I don't subscribe to every layout needing a title. And to put like Hilton Head or something like that on there, I have a number of layouts that have that on it already, so I'm perfectly happy without it having a title. However, if you set yours up like this and you want a title because your layout lends itself well to that, or because you like to put a title on everything, which you're allowed to do, just because I don't subscribe to that doesn't mean you can't. I would put it either down here or up here, kind of depending on how long it is or what color your alphabets are. I used, I'm going to, just a second. Oh, yeah. These came in another kit, and I can't remember which one, but I used these quite a bit with this collection because I thought they looked pretty, I don't know, they just went well. The vibe went well, and the colors popped well on these. So if you had these the alphabets, they work really well with it, but you could layer them down here or up here. So if that makes sense. I'm not going to put, like I said, I'm not going to put a title on mine, but if you want to, that's sort of my suggestion for how it would go if you did it. The other option, if you have photos that are oriented just a little bit differently and like you've got a lot of negative space here or here, you could put embellishments in here or pieces of a title across here as well, right through the middle. Mine happened to be, if I did it here, I'd be covering stuff up. And so I don't want to do that, but you could definitely, if your photos are composed a little bit different. All right, questions, because that is about all I have for tonight. So I want to make sure in case anyone has any questions, I can answer them. This is May's kit. And the link's in the comments again for the sketch if you don't have it. And just remember, if you have horizontal photos, just give that sketch a turn. And you can, I was going to mention too, if you only have like 2 photos but you want to do this layout, you can print 4x6 photos and then put your pieces here and here to stagger them if you want to use 2 journaling cards, or you could use even more and sort of stagger all of your journaling cards and the photos. So you could use 4 journaling cards and 2 photos and sort of do it the way I did it here, but with photos instead of the journaling cards. Does that make sense? Or journaling cards and instead of photos? Sorry. Because this kit does have a lot of 3x4 cards with journaling cards with words or pictures or kind of cool stuff on them. I used quite a few of them with this kit because they had some really fun ones. So remember, you can use the sketch pretty much exactly like I did, but it's really easy to tweak 1 or 2 things and make it your own and make 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 layouts out of this one sketch that all look quite different without even changing the paper. But when you change papers to different styles and themes, bold and bright colors versus these sort of beachy washed out, you will get very different looking layouts from a single sketch. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. If you think of any questions or have anything pop up, this video, or want to watch it again or came in late, this video will get posted here when we're done. So you can watch it again or post a comment on there. If you use this sketch, please do share it on the Scrapbooking Store Club Facebook page. I love to see what you guys did. If yours looks different than mine, that's great. Don't be afraid to share it just because it doesn't look like what mine did. We love that. We love to see your twist on what you saw here tonight. So please, please, please don't keep that, have that keep you from sharing it. We love to see what you guys do with it as well. So, all right, guys, I'm Samantha Taylor, and this is Scrapbooking Store, and thanks for tuning in tonight.